This is it. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with the OGs. Got Goldee and DJ Hard.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes with the OGs. I'm Goldee, your West Coast host. I got my partner DJ Hard, Street Poet Louisiana. That's what I'm saying, standing in strong for the South, the Southern. So, you know what I'm saying, represent y'all. So get on board. You know, so today our show, we're going to be dealing with reparations. And, you know, that's a continuation until we get our reparations, get what we are due. And also, I want to do a screen share on the, give us insight on who we truly are and what truly belongs to us. Because if a man don't know who he truly is, he don't know what he's on, what belongs to him. You know what I'm saying? He can't stake claim of his ownership. So my topic today will be dealing with bringing awareness to who we Black Americans that's in America truly are. I'm gonna break it down for you today. I want to give thanks to Dan Calloway because I'm gonna do a screen share with him, and my second screen share will be with another group of people that's, you know, saying in acknowledgement of the truth and the real about who we really are, and, you know what I'm saying, so we can get on the right path in life. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know that every Black over here is not no African, okay? And so, you know, but we were also enslaved just as Africans was. Africans was actually brought over here to America, which belonged to us. I want to give a shout out to Don Soprano. That's my son, you understand? And, you know, he stood in on the show with us, you know, before. He's a part of our group. I want to give a shout out to Many Bike Legacy. You know what I'm saying? The summer is here. It's time to ride, style, and profile on your mini bike. You know what I'm saying? We got them all different flavors. So you got action at picking your choice. I'm going to give a shout out to Miss Sasha Banks. I see her last match. You know, now she messed up though. She got through all.
Hey, what she do? What she do?
She got through off, man. She lost, man. She took a loss. You know what I'm saying? And it was just some trickeration going down. And the other team cheated. They were gonna, you know, they had a match. What's what they call that shit?
Grudge match or two people.
It was
match?
the team match.
Team match.
Yeah. So she had a partner. You know, so. But her partner got threw off and shit, and then the other teams, they played them out of pocket, so she had to take a loss, although she was putting up a damn good fight. But I need to be your manager, because, see, your killer instinct is really not there with you. You think you got that killer instinct in you, but you don't. You don't. It's missing. That's what's missing. If I was your manager, you wouldn't take no losses. You'll stay with that belt. But anyway, so I want to give a shout out to my fam in Detroit. I want to give a shout out to my fam here, you know, staying in the city right here with me, you know, and so, you know, like, subscribe, you know what I'm saying, tell a friend about our show, you know what I'm saying, join in with us on our discussions, our conversations, our presentations, and, you know what I'm saying, be entertained by, you know what I'm saying, learning your history, you know what I'm saying, learning, you know, why our people are in the positions we in, and learn what it's gonna take for us to overcome this in a real way, a true way. You know what I'm saying? We've been talking about overcoming, but we've been getting through off, you know, and we've been allowing, you know what I'm saying, them folks, you know what I'm saying, to continue to pay us out of pocket. What's up with it, DJ?
Oh man, I want to give a shout out to my #1 music fans. They still giving me a good vibration. Um, and matter of fact, I'm gonna be highlighting one of my old songs. I made it new. I hooked it up. Matter of fact, you on the song too, Goldie. You be you. You know,
You be you.
yeah, you be you. And because we all not the same, and we got our own personal skill set, and matter of fact, different occupations and things like that. So today, matter of fact, that kind of gets back to reparations, because what I want to do with reparations is show some of the key players in reparations movement, dealing with HR 40. And I got another thing that's happening right here in California. I want to highlight that. I thought I had notes. Oh, yeah, here it is, my note. It's called AB 3121 in California. This is state level. So we got a federal thing going, and then we got a state level going in California, AB 3121. I want to highlight some of the key players in that. I'm going to be sharing the screen on that. I also want to give a shout out to my
What's that dealing with? What is that dealing with?
I just know that the governor of California signed the legislation is in motion. And so as I study on that, we got the beginning of the studying on that, and as I find more information, I'm going to highlight that on a different show. But right now, I just want to bring that out because in a previous show, we talked about Evanston, Illinois. That's a local government, a city. They got their own reparation package they're putting together, taking part of the proceeds from illegal marijuana sales, being able to grant that money. Homeowners, people who want to invest into property in that area, or already existing people to use that money, into equity building, and this one is concentrating on home ownership. So as we go through the reparation issue, we're going to find out that a lot of people have a lot of different approaches. So I wanted to highlight, in my screen share, I'm going to highlight the target, the money, because I'm about that money in Black Lives Matter.
So I'm talking about money in Black Lives Matter, and you know what I'm saying? That's, it gotta go down like that, straight out.
Yeah.
And it has to be embedded in the minds of these people that economically we are on the bottom, you understand what I'm saying? And we should not be on the bottom. We don't deserve to be on the bottom. We have paid our dues, you know what I'm saying, to be in a better position in life. And that's what this is all about. And that's what we're striving for. And we're not going to back down.
And also, we want to highlight the cash factor because we already had a lot of programs. Programs keep coming up, when I graduated from high school, well, I took a little time off before I really got going with college, but eventually I went to college and got my Bachelor of Science degree from Grambling State University, and I was tied down with loans. All right, so we had programs to help us get educated and stuff like that, but we're gonna need we don't need loans. That loan thing.
No, that ain't nothing but game. That's trickeration. That's paying you out of pocket. That's putting you in debt. You know what I'm saying? And people, just with that loan in itself, have put people in debt for almost lifetime.
Yeah, because it's very expensive to go to college, and they continue to go up on the price of education.
Not only that, you may finish and don't even get employed in that field that you went to school to study for.
That's exactly what happened to me.
Main problem.
Fortunately, that I gained a skill while I was going to Grambling State University, And so I was in a related field, which is telecommunications, uh, but that wasn't electronic technology that I went to school for. Oh, why? We come to the end of our introduction, and we're going to get down with the screen share so we can get down to the real data and the business of bringing you some solid information today.
Straight like that. So give us 2 minutes, 2 seconds. We'll be right back with you. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, and you be you, and I be me, because we're going to take all of it. That's unity. We're going to be pushing unity today.
That's right. And then, like you said, you be you, I be me. That way, everybody's allowed to be who they self and have their own creation, but we're going to bring that together. You know what I'm saying? And be as a team. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way, you know, we're going to overcome this. 2 minutes, 2 seconds. Right back with
you. I got to spread a little love. It ain't nothing unusual. It ain't nothing mystical. It's alright to be yourself. Everybody, let's get up, get down to rock this house party. I everybody sing. Everybody sing. As I rise to the gate, sing this you one. Got to sing a little song to get down Babylon. As I rise to the gate, I say, wash your hands and practice a little patience. Everybody sing. Everybody sing.
Welcome back to Behind the Scenes with the OGs, episode 6. We're going to continue our show. We're going to proceed with DJ Hard. He's fixing to do a screen share on reparations. So, you know, we appreciate your attention, you know, and get some information about it.
What I want to do is really bring out some information in regards to what is a particular calculation. There's many people who made some calculations, but I want to highlight this one.
Injury persists even after I actually commit the act. If I stab you, you may suffer complications long after that initial actual stabbing. That's the case with African Americans.
I told you I was doing a show. I'll call you when I'm done.
Reparations are meant to redress or compensate for a really egregious injustice. It can be compensation in terms of money. There also needs to be a moral reckoning.
The historical injustice has never been addressed. Ending an injustice is not the same thing as making up for its enduring effect.
We need to have that controversial conversation ongoing so that we can begin to do something about it. Repair is happening because we said yes.
The paycheck, reparation.
I'm originally from Germany. Up there, the Holocaust was discussed in every single school subject, and I felt horrible about my history and ashamed of it.
They're on top of the world now.
Survivor of fighting
in reparations.
After he passed away, I learned from his widow that he had received a reparations pension since the 1970s, first from the West German government, then from the government of reunited Germany. It was a small pension. It measured no way up to the losses he had as a youngster. There is no money amount that could possibly represent those losses. When I came to the United States, I was drawn to that topic of reparations from my experience with PhD. The procedure that I used to estimate reparations, I took census information about the enslaved population in each year from 1776 to 1860. I'm adding up all the hours, multiplying it with the wages customary at the time, and then adding a conservative 3% interest. I arrived at an outstanding debt of $20.3 trillion in 2021 dollars.
We can see by the polls that support for reparations is over 70% among Black Americans. A small but growing number of white Americans also believe that reparations are due to African Americans. And I think that's an important distinction. It's not a handout, it's a debt.
That's what I wanted to show. I want us to focus in on this monetary amount of $20.3 trillion. Now that's one estimate. There's other people who have ran up calculations on that, and as we find them, I will share them to you. All I'm just trying to say is like in the conversation of reparations, there has been studies done. All right, so HR 40 is a study. I'm trying to make sure that my people, you know, my family here in Louisiana, my family in California, Michigan, wherever my family may be, I want them to understand that this is a debt that's due to us. All right, these are wages that was lost over a very long time. Of course, some people might,
what was that? 1776 to
1860 to 1860. All right, so you know, there might be different dates that people want to use over a longer timeline than that. All right, and it might be, as you extend that timeline, you also increase the population of the people.
His study was that was the period of his study, how much, you know, but it's 400 years is way past that.
Yeah, right, because we also need to consider what was happening with Jim Crow, and then a lot of people are pointing to the Reagan administration, and when he had his war on crime, you know, the impact on Black families from the war on crime, mass incarceration, and
it was the war on drugs, and he used that to imprison the majority of Blacks and Mexicans. That was that's the law that he did to lock us up, you know, so we're saying, in prison back from in the 70s. That's when it started.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's go to the next screen share. We're going to get some more info. I want to let you know that Ice Cube is still in play on his contract with Black America. I just want to highlight his position today on where he's standing. This is a very recent video that was done. So here we go. Yeah, I want to stop it right there because this is one of the reasons why we need Black media, man. You know, we are part of that. Behind the scenes with the OGs, we are part of Black media. We're trying to show you our perspective, which is coming from a Black community and a Black perspective, to let you know, just like the Jews continuously remind the world, not just Americans, but the whole world, that the Holocaust did exist. And they don't let you forget that. All right, so
they got paid reparations for that. They on top of the world now because of that. So they part of you know what I'm saying, the issue, the situation, the position that our people in. Although they was, you know what I'm saying, suffered, you know, what they did through the Holocaust, you know, but all they did was join, you know what I'm saying, them, and, you know, and still, you know what I'm saying, they participated in slavery, in the slave trade. So, you know.
Well, that's our job. We need to make sure people know that it was a very bad thing that happened to us in America. It was horrendous. It was horrible. It was abusive. It was a lot of different adjectives you can put on there. All right, so I wanted to highlight Ice Cube because one of the things that he brought up, and I want you know, have my commentary on this is self-responsibility. You know, what can each person do? You know, we are the people we need to know. All right, because we are the ones, me and Goldie and our viewers. All right, we are the ones that can make a difference. All right, because we're not just bringing you this information for just to be entertaining. All right, we're bringing this information to you so you could be a part of the solution. You know, when issues are formed, all right, we're gonna have different propositions that we want to make. All right, I wanted to make a proposition here in Shreveport on the American Rescue Plan. So I produced a show to help bring the information out about, you know, the size of that revenue source, and how it can be used. All right, so this is part of the discussion that hasn't been taking place. What I've been seeing, let me tell you, this is my personal opinion now. Y'all can try to disagree if you want, and then I'll come with my proof and show you from the horse's mouth that these people are taking money like the American Rescue Plan and giving it all back to the government. All right. Yeah. So that's not getting to the people. Who is America? We are America. You know, so I mean, you know, that's what I'm saying. Part of this self-responsibility. I mean, I'm during this process, I heard people talk about, well, here we are going overtime, but this discussion is so deep until we need a little bit more time. We're going to need a lot more episodes in order to bring you this information because, you know, some kind of way, a lot of Black people feel like, all right, poverty is the problem with crime. All right, then they said we need jobs, but the self-responsibility part is not fair. In other words, they're saying we need jobs. If some of these people have serious educational skills, serious talent, and however, they're looking for a job instead of going into business. All right, so as we go along, I'm trying to show our people and all Americans that is so many products. Here's one right here that's made in China, all right? And it works sometimes. It don't always work, right? So there's so many products and services that we can do here in America. So I'm just trying to say to our very brilliant young people who's coming up and the senior citizens who are brilliant too, just like me and Goldie, to also think about going into business because we can employ our own people instead of saying, well, we need jobs. All right. It hasn't been the answer. It is never going to be answered.
We need jobs is a slave mentality. And what Ice Cube was saying about Hollywood, sending them subliminal messages, that's absolutely true. And that's what happened. And that does distract people and get people caught up into some fake world, fake shit that go on, and it throws them off on what's really going on. And
that's real, man. I can even think about some of
the progress he's saying with contract to Black America, is just bumping gums. You understand? I that's not progress to me, and so the people that he's bumping these gums with is not, who are they? They ain't about nothing. You know what I'm saying? But bumping their gums.
Yeah. Well, I want to move to my next screen share because we're going to get down with some more information. I'm trying to introduce you to some of the players that's involved in this discussion dealing with reparations. All right, here's one: politics and Black California reparations, focusing on AB 3121. All right, and this is a recent program. It was just produced in June 13th, 2021. All right, so let's get on with this. And I just want to introduce you to
Black America's perspective, huh?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to introduce you to the players in it. And in the description of this show, I'm gonna have some information that can lead you to this program where you can watch the whole thing. But I'm only going to play a clip. Here we go with this clip.
What's happening, family? We are back and we are live. And this marks 1 year of Politics in Black, brought to you by the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, Los Angeles, aka NCOBRA. 1 year Friday we've been doing this.
Yeah, it's been a fast and a roller coaster ride. Let me tell you now.
Well, let me check this audio.
Yeah, for real.
It's all the way up.
All right, we're going to screen share.
We're going to end this part of the screen share, but I just want to let you know, what was going on in California, and they highlight this particular bill that's going down, AB 3121 in in California.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That means we got people that's on top of it in Cali.
All right, here's the sister right here.
You need to know this gentleman as well, so I'm going to bring in Chris Lodgson.
Yeah,
Chris
here we go.
is originally from New York City, but he now lives in California, so he's in California, right? So his occupation is a legal researcher. He is organized both independently and with community-based organizations, as well as with national nonprofit organizations for over 11 years on both the East and the West Coast. He is an active advocate for Black American descendants of U.S. slavery in his capacity as one of the founders of ARCC, that's ARC, the American Redress Coalition of California, which is a Northern California-based reparations and reparative justice advocacy organization. ARC, along with its statewide coalition, CJEC, that's CJEC, the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, was pivotal in helping California lawmakers enact AB 3121 and California's task force to study and develop reparations proposals for African Americans. So please, if you're not standing up in your living room, stand up for these two people and give them a round of applause. Come on in here, Chris. I don't deserve all that.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do, brother. We're going to give you your flowers. We're going to give you your flowers today. Thank you. And I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to sing for y'all because it's your anniversary. Do you know what today is? It's your anniversary. I'm going to stop right there. Hold on. Multi-talented. So because I got those skills too. Anyway. Thank you for being here, fam. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you've been doing over the years. I mean, we wanted to bring you here, bring Tiffany here, and highlight those folks who are really at the grassroots, who are making this thing go organized and bringing us all together, putting out the calls to action, and pushing legislation across the finish line. So, again, brother, sister, thank you. Thank you, brother.
All right, I'm going to end the screen share here, but Wait a minute. You didn't get a chance to see. Let me see if I can get to the sister that was involved in this thing too.
So please chime in anything you feel about adding on to what Chris is doing.
Yeah. So from there, after Chris did all that work, I just said, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Weber's office.
Yeah.
So I reached out and sent an email for a meeting, which is pretty much what I bring to the group. I get all the meetings and such that, we talked to Dr. Weber and, she was willing to meet with us. So that's, my role. Chris did a lot of the groundwork, but I brought Dr. Weber to the group, and with Dr. Weber, we also started building a relationship with her office. COVID hit, and we met a lady named Janelle Jackson, who's the head of she was the liaison to the CLC.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end the screen share here because the volume is a little bit low, but I wanted everybody to see some of the people. They just regular people, but they've been involved with the thing, dealing with reparations and other black issues for a while. But one of the reasons why AB 3121 is so potent is because of their input. All right. And one of the things that they wanted to stress, all right, and I'll stress this too, like on the local level, that shouldn't substitute for what the federal level needs to be. All right. This is a state level, and they stress that this should not be considered the full reparation. It cannot substitute for what needs to be done on the federal level. All right. Because if you look at it, I think we did another program back in the past dealing with Bruce Beach. Now that was a local municipality that declared a section of Manhattan Beach that was black owned and operated, and they declared it. They condemned it. They condemned the property.
Right.
All right, and so with that, when they did that, then that caused gentrification. All right, so we got to keep our eye on the sparrow to prevent gentrification, to prevent the loss of our assets that could be passed down to the next generation. All right, because we can lose both property and business by not paying close enough attention or putting enough energy behind it to push back. If they push, you can push back. All right. So I think what we have not been able to do is to organize around things that's happening in government where lives are not lost. Okay. You can see how many people came out for Black Lives Matter when somebody got shot or had the knee on his neck like George Floyd, all right, and people come out because it was a death, all right, but here it is, it's the death of our economic stability that's happening, and then there's a lot of people not reacting to that. They kind of take a back seat to that, when that's just as important as somebody losing their life. Because if
that's
you
why
lose
money
life,
and Black Lives matter.
Huh?
That's why money and Black Lives matter.
There you go.
Straight like that.
Money and Black Lives Matter, because with the money
on that one.
Yeah, every money could help you process through a lot of things, and your assets. So if you're losing your assets, you gotta fight back. You fight for your life, but you gotta fight for your equity, your assets, and the debt that's owed to you. Reparation is a debt that's owed to you as descendants of slaves. Because they worded it right. When we get into your history part, I'm telling you, they worded it right. American descendants of slaves. American descendants of slavery. All right, that is it, because we are Americans, and we've been fighting in the wars since the beginning of this nation.
Like that.
Yeah, and okay,
Blood, sweat, and tears is what made America be America, and put everybody else in power and position better than ourselves.
our skilled tradesmen, our ancestors who knew how to build things started the first major construction in Washington, D.C. We built so many fine institutions here in America until it's unfortunate that people are not reminding you of the things that we built in America. All right.
Well, that's what we all about. We here to remind our people of, our inventions and our creations, so that we can get our rightful position in this world. We deserve that in our life.
Well, I'm gonna move on to my next screen share if I can catch it. Let's see if I can get it. All right, this is my final screen share of the day. I'm trying to highlight the players. Now, in the description of this program, please, when it says see more or read more, click on that, and you can find the name of these programs and go right there and watch the full program for yourself. All right, but today I'm only going to be playing a clip because I'm just trying to introduce you to some of the key players involved in this.
And to bring your awareness that we do have people that's, on the bandwagon, to, striving, so we can get reparations as we deserve. So we're not the only ones, that's pushing the line on reparations. So.
And Goldee, I want to thank
you. I'm glad you researched and came up with this information, because this is really important. And especially,
all right, Goldee, I want to thank you for asking the question. All right, about how long have we been struggling with reparations? All right, so I don't. It's been many people who started this thing going all the way back to the 1800s. So as we find these people, we will introduce you to them. But right now, I want to highlight John Conyers. Matter of fact, this man was around for 90 years. He lived for 90 years. He just passed in 2019. Now, he started a reparation bill that, now we got HR 40. But how long, you asked the question, how long it been going on? He started this thing 32 years ago. So right now, I want to get into this video because these are the legal minds. We got the activists doing something. We got the politicians doing something. And I'm also want to highlight what the legal community is doing. So that's what this is. This is my last clip. I want to introduce you to some of the legal minds dealing with this subject of reparations.
Yeah, well, we need to know that.
Broadcast promises to be exciting and controversial. We will be talking about reparations, and I'll introduce these people here. I'm expecting one other person, and by phone. I have one reparations person by phone. From my far left is Dr. Amy Jenkins, who is representing Black empowerment and Black Lawyers for Justice. As some of you may know, its founder is attorney Shabazz. Next to Dr. Jenkins is attorney Amos N. Jones, representing the ADOS Society. He's a local civil rights and employment attorney. Next to attorney Jones is attorney Adjua Toro, who is representing NCOBRA. And on phone is Mr. Sean Hill, representing the ADOS. Thank you all for being here. And I just want to tell the listening audience the reason why I invited these various groups. As a result result of what happened on Capitol Hill on June 19th, I saw on social media some controversy of people having different viewpoints about reparations. Some of it was not nice, but my goal, and I'm not a part of any specific group, let me make that disclaimer at the beginning, but I interact and everybody here knows who have been involved in whatever protests or activities or programs they have. So my goal is to have each person give their particular organization's platform so that we can find some commonalities and so that we can move forward. And as I've entitled this particular broadcast, Reparations, Varied Paths to the Same Goal. So I'm going to ask Dr. Jenkins to talk a little bit about what the platform, will give everybody like 2 minutes, and we're going to go around and then you can talk about it more. So give us some information about Black empowerment and what your initial information, just the basics initially. Okay. So with regards to Black empowerment, we are consisted of a number of organizations. Okay. It's not just Black empowerment, it's Black Power, it's Black Panther Party, it's Black Workers for Justice under the Attorney General. And the platform basically is to come as a united front. All right. A united front of collective, because one thing about reparations is there's something that we cannot do alone. You know, a lot of times we have dismissed the fact of saying the word reparations before we say the word unity. Because we can't fight without just one organization. No one is going to be able to make that key violence. It's going to take us to the next level. We've tried that. You know, people in different court hearings have filed for reparations cases. Yes, some people have won. Okay, we have some people who have won in part, you know, on one area, and then it's been remanded to go back for another issue. The key is we have to get through those barriers, and we have to be able to address them collectively as a unified front. Where we're going with each organization and what we provide legally, philosophically, judicially. You know, we have to come together to make sure that happens. Okay. So, Attorney Jones, talk about the organization. I think you were the co-founder.
Well, yes. So I represent on this panel tonight the American Descendants of Slave Society. And we are collateral, if you will, with the American Descendants of Slavery movement. We are an organization that organized when we felt that ADOS was being co-NCOBRA. And that is when MSNBC put very strange panelists on a Saturday to discredit the idea that a Descendants of Slaves movement even existed. And we sprang into action and we formed this ADOS society to support the work of what the people who are known as the founders of the ADOS movement, Attorney Antonio Moore in Los Angeles and journalist activist Yvette Carnell in Atlanta. We knew that we needed an organizational structure. We strive to be a diplomatic arm because many of us are card-carrying members of NCOBRA and these predecessor organizations that have been doing fine work for the last 40 to 50 to 60 years and all the way back. We understand the need for boots on the ground, and that's why the American Descendants of Slaves Society, and we do say slaves because the slaves are persons, and that's how we've been regarded religiously and everything else in terms of our identity historically. We're founded under the African American Trust for Historic Preservation, which is a Kentucky-based organization that since 2017 has worked to preserve slavery-era Black churches. So we are asserting a Black heritage motif and a tradition that we hope, instead of attacking and the work that came before and the people who have a deeper view and longstanding relations, such as NCOBRA, we believe that we can share and learn from and grow together. Because if we're fighting NCOBRA, or we're fighting the Black Power crowd, or Black Workers for Justice, how on earth are we going to get Mitch McConnell to allow a reparations bill to come to a vote, or President Trump to sign it? So we need to kind of go back to what our elders used to understand, which is that you need Republicans and Democrats to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is still very strong and helpful to us after all these years. So ADOS Society is trying to build diplomatic bridges and a credible organizational structure that's all covered.
All right, I want to end this screen share right here.
Hey, I want to make a point on that. If you notice, Not one time did they say African American. They said American slave.
Yeah, American descendants of slaves. And one thing that I wanted to point out is that they are stressing unity. And when I look at this, let me give you my view. All right. My view is you go back to the beginning of slavery and that process of slavery, however length of time you want to talk about it, there was dozens of nations involved. There was thousands of businesses involved. There was millions of people involved with the slave trade, and far as passing the laws.
Many people prospered off of the slave trade except for the slaves.
Yeah, well, we talking about that's them numbers up in the thousands and the millions. All right. So this is what I'm trying to say is that why do we need unity? Man, this was a global project. It was a worldwide project, and it was no one person that led the whole thing. So when we talking about in the movements of black people, if one organization saying they can handle it all, then I'm just saying you already right there. You're gonna have tremendous obstacles. You're gonna have a lot of obstacles. Why? Because there's gonna be thousands of different organizations, a lot of rich people, a lot of powerful people, a lot of popular people being able to say something to discredit you. Like here it is, people just trying to say slavery didn't exist. All right, so boom. The Jews didn't accept that. All right. They remind us regularly. And their fuel makers produce beautiful movies, man, that remind us of the Holocaust and the atrocities they faced. This is why we need black media. This is why we need black producers like me and Goldee, all right, trying to come up with programs and present presentations to show you that it did exist and that we have a great heritage and we can have a great future if we change the economic dynamics that has us on a flat line. And I reminded you with so many different types of data and statistics, I mean actual statistics to show you that right now, economically, we are flatlining. If we don't get busy, we're going to be in poverty.
Ain't no life matter.
Yeah, money and Black Lives Matter. I mean, hey, you black folks, you deserve to make money. Somebody got to tell you that. And then you got to put together whatever product or service that you are putting together, and hopefully you can monetize that. Right now, we operating on a volunteer basis. I'm sure that these lawyers up here that has just got through speaking, all of their work probably is not paid for. They volunteered some time.
That's right. That's right.
Volunteered some time to do the legal work. And you just think about any kind of lawsuit you go into, how much you pay attorney. A gang of money, man. On certain issues.
Yeah, that just goes to show you that the sophisticated people recognize and realize, you know what I'm saying, that is a debt due to us, and they striving right along, you know what I'm saying, with people on our bracket, you know what I'm saying, to get this solved, get this reparation solved, get the ball rolling, stop all this conversation, you understand, and talking about study when we know that you know what I'm saying, what our people have been through. So
yeah, well, I'm gonna end my screen share right here because I just wanted to introduce everybody to some of the key players and key organizations. across America, you can see that these people are coming from every corner of the United States of America.
All right. Good.
Yeah, pushing the line on reparations.
That's right.
So I mean, I got a theme song out right now, and it surprised me that a lot of people are not picking up on it. It's called Reparation Push. As a matter of fact, it's just a short version of what we're doing with our program behind the scenes with the OG. But it's set to a beat. I put it to a beat, man. And look here, I'm gonna rock this issue on through, man.
Well, that's all. That's just another way, of reporting the media. So that's all good. Okay, let's proceed to my screen share. Here we go right here.
All right, wait. We're gonna take a break to make sure we get it right. And we'll be right back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
This is it. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with the OGs. Got Goldee and DJ Hard.
Welcome back. We're here to let you know some good news about our people. So I'm going to continue on, and we're going to move on to my screen share. So here we go. The Black Excellence and Abundant Channel. That's the presentation that this Black people in America, thousands of years before Columbus. That's what this is about.
Black Excellence and Abundance Channel.
Revelations 4:3.
Black Native Americans have been all but ignored in this country. We have been written out of the history books, and it is as if we never existed in the first place. The truth is, this country was filled with many all-Black, so-called Indian, Native American tribes. One area of note is California. The true history of California Blacks is a powerful story, one that should be studied and remembered. I urge you to please do your research, and you will be surprised by the majestic history of our people here in this country.
They were California Blacks, or Califians, also referred to as Califians, spelled with a KH. The California Blacks were one of the largest and oldest Native nations in the Americas. They were the people Europeans originally referred to as the Red Man.
One account of what it was really like in California comes from the writing of historian Robert Beverly from the 1700s. He writes, "Far and away the most beautiful city on earth, 5 times the size of London or Rome, great towers and buildings rising from the water, 60,000 gleaming houses, how spacious and well built they were, of beautiful stonework and cedar wood and wood of other sweet scented trees. Many streets and boulevards were so neat and well swept despite the multitude of inhabitants, crisscrossed with a complete network of channels like an enormous Venice, but also remarkable floating gardens that remain from nowhere else on earth." So you see, Black Native Americans not only lived here, but we thrived here. And we thrived for thousands of years before Columbus. As a matter of fact, Blacks were in this country even before the birth of the Savior, before Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach.
California Native American identity. The original indigenous inhabitants of California were the descendants of West Africa, South America's Olmeca Zai Empire, 1500 to 400 BCE, Egypt, Asia, and the Pacific Islands, creating a mixed cultural nation that thrived for thousands of years in peace.
The following is what an exhibition of European explorers actually found upon their arrival in North America. They were huge aqueducts, transported America's water from fresh springs. But what impressed most were special merchant areas filled with timber and tile and other building materials being bought and sold. If there were green grocers, streets where everyone could buy every sort of vegetable, fruit, honey, and chocolate, astonished by personal cleanliness and hygiene of the colorfully dressed people and by their extravagant use of soaps, deodorant, and breath sweeteners. According to Beverly, there were nations that were scientifically advanced. They were highly civilized populations with an abundance of gold and wealth, whose history spanned thousands of years. Ancient America was notably one of the most advanced civilizations in antiquity.
Our features and African features are different.
Before the Spaniards, before Mexicans, before the Clovis people who crossed the Bering Straits, before what is now known as the Native American Indian or Euro conversions. No European who had tasted the life of Indians can afterwards not bear to live in any other society. Benjamin Franklin. Franklin also wrote, "There is no force in Indian societies, no prisons, no officers to inflict punishment." Benjamin Franklin.
That's who we really are.
We weren't all brought on ships called Jesus, Liberty, Grace, Justice, or Mercy. Our ancestors were already here, natives to this land, long before Columbus.
Long before Columbus lies. Black people are indigenous America.
Gigantic stone heads in central Mexico. The Olmec civilization was the first significant civilization in Mesoamerica deemed Mother Culture of Mexico by some historians. This civilization, dominated by Africans, is best known for the colossal carved heads in central Mexico that served as even more evidence that Africans sailed to the New World before Columbus. The heads are clearly crafted in the likeness of Africans. The same civilization that created these giant heads was also responsible for introducing written language, arts, sophisticated astronomy, and mathematics to a Mesoamerican civilization, ancient African historian Professor Ivan van Sertima explained.
We do want to point out that there is evidence of other races in the Americas prior to the arrival of Columbus. There were Asians, Pacific Islanders, and there's even evidence of Europeans before Columbus. But the landscape was definitely dominated by the black people, the black Native Americans.
Which is us.
Just like somebody I know.
Many black people in this country have been told that we have so-called Indian blood. I know that I have. And many, many others have the same experience. Well, chances are it's the truth. When you look at the characteristics that many of us have with the high cheekbones, etc., there's a good possibility that more than we know that we are Native Americans. While we know that many of our ancestors did come in on slave ships, however, we know that there is proof that millions upon millions of our ancestors were here before Columbus, before the transatlantic slave trade. So yes, folks, there is overwhelming evidence that suggests that the first Americans were actually black people.
Good. That's what I'm talking about.
There is archaeological evidence, there's written evidence, and there's oral evidence, which proves that black people are the first Americans.
This is our land.
The Black Excellence and Abundance Channel where Black history is every day. Thanks for watching.
Okay. See, that's the history that's have been denied to us, the truth. While we sitting up here, you know what I'm saying, relating to all these different names that they call us and tell us and deny us, or that's why they deny us our land. This is already our land. It already belonged to us. And this is our historical proven facts, you know. And to me, this is so important to know who you truly are and stop living by the name of what they gave us and who they claim we are. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we know that, yeah, we are descendants of, because the first human was born was a Black in Africa, you know, and just as they show, even in the 1700s, Africans was already here before Columbus even discovered America. So let's move on. I got another screen share that's, you know, on the same, giving up the same type of information as this one right here.
And when I meet someone who is of African descent, African American, I will refer to them as African American. But if it's a friend that I've known for a while, I will call him and I will refer to him as Black. So am I overly sensitive or am I appropriate? Africa is not our home. Let me let that hang in the atmosphere for a while. I say that this gathering of the masters, Africa is not your home.
I'm an American. I'm not African American. I'm an American.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of flack for saying you're not African American. You know that, right?
What do you think, Morgan? Is this political correctness gone too far?
Yeah. I mean, we have a tendency to do that in a way. I mean, we get politically correct. Stuff happened that you don't want to happen. All of a sudden became an African.
I can barely hear it.
I'm not African.
I don't know why. I hear it very clear.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, it must be my computer.
What does that mean? Well, I use the word Black, and I use that too loosely because I don't like the word.
It's going to take more time than we allotted.
No, I am. You call me Negro, you call me Morgan, you call me Color Boy, you call me Black, you call me African. I'm not an African. I'm not an African. I'm not an African. I'm not an African.
That's Dr. Sabi.
To play it safe, I just go with African American for everybody, but then everybody that's Black is not African American. See, I like just being called Black. I never adapted to the African American term. I just like being referred to as Black. I'm comfortable. I like it. It fills me up with pride. But if you meet somebody from an island or something, they're not African American. What do you mean by America's my mama? I don't know nothing else.
It's great, man.
When I was in Africa. I wouldn't eat watermelon when I was in Africa. I wasn't wearing suits when I was in Africa. I wasn't getting my hair cut when I was in Africa. This is my mama. And yours too.
You saying America's our mama. Is this our land?
I have no African descent in my blood. I'm a Native American. So really, I'm a Cherokee, I'm a Blackfoot, I'm a Red Tail, and that's what's in my blood. A lot of people in America.
He's from my tribe, Cherokee.
You're not Black. Let's keep switching the identity to hide the people. Why don't we just keep renaming you? Are you Negro? Oh, no, you're not Negro. No, you're colored. No, you're not colored. You're African American. And this is what they name you. Because I know a white guy who grew up in South Africa. And he now lives in America. He is an African American. And more African American than most. Do you see how African American is a misnomer? It's a misnomer. Don't check that box. It's a title given to blacks by democratic slavers.
There it is there.
Well, you check out the U.S. Census
content not featured here on my channel.
Well,
All going to my website. And I'm just here to make you
Dan Calloway, you know what I'm saying, make his little spill.
For well over 500 years, dating back to the 13th century, as historically recorded across the world, indigenous Aboriginal Niji of Turtle Island were called a variety of derogative terms by visitors, exchangers, colonists, traders, and settlers, mainly due to outsiders being unfamiliar with all of the indigenous Niji's multiple native languages. So they would base their comedic name-calling by the shade of the Niji skin tone and not the actual color of their complexion. During the mid-1500s and well into the 1600s, while the trade of tobacco, corn, rice, and the enslavement of some of the indigenous Niji were already in progress, Spaniard colonists of Portugal were colonizing lands in Southeast and Southwest Africa, while simultaneously colonizing nearly all of South America and southern geographical locations of North America. According to archived records and documents by Spain, during this time period, many of the Spanish colonists dubbed the indigenous Niji as Negroes and Negras, based solely on their genders and the shade of their skin tones, and not their domicile origins. For example, the English settler John Roth was primarily responsible for documenting and delivering tobacco from the colony of Virginia to the Virginia Company of London by original orders from then King James I of England. Having the ability to speak Latin, English, and Spanish, he was able to create what he called, quote, a milder smoke by purchasing tobacco seeds from some of the Spanish colonists having settled in Florida and from some of the indigenous Aborigines of Florida, the West Indies, and parts of Venezuela and Bermuda. In John Roth's journal, currently located in full at the National Archives facilities in London, he documented the round-trip shipments of the tobacco, silver, and gold, and the famously known quote, 20 and odd Negras, which was changed by the Department of Historic Resources of Virginia 3 times from 20 and odd Negras to 20 and odd Negroes to now officially read today as 20 and odd Africans, commencing in 1992. What is very important to note is that the Spanish called the Africans Negras and Negroes as well, due to the shades of their skin tone. Having been, these 20 and odd Negras were captured by Captain John Jope and his crew aboard the British-built warship called the Treasure War, directly from the San Juan Bautista, which was the much larger Spanish-owned sailboat that deported from Angola in Southwest Africa, attempting to make its way to Veracruz. Now, I shared more information concerning this topic in both documentaries called The Untold Truth about the African slave trade, but I mentioned all of this to share some of the history of the complexity surrounding the multiple derogative terms that were used to label the indigenous Aborigines of America. So now you can understand the confusion that was designed through the format of eugenics to make it seem as if the Africans and the indigenous Niji, or rather the indigenous people of Turtle Island, which is now known as North America, are one and the same when they're not. And this is where the mistake stimulated from. In the year of 1790 and beyond, census enumerators allegedly went from town to town, city to city, and door to door, deciding who was of what race and documented their families they needed such. These unsupervised federal employees had a mammoth amount of influence on indigenous Aborigines genealogy records still to this very day. In fact, what the census takers informally documented on a sheet of paper was literally based on their mere individual opinions.
and then later deemed as official records that were sacrosanct, leading to hundreds of years of the census takers' ideas of race being considered as official historical records of information throughout America. What's very important to note is that these census takers were provided instructions, and they recorded the ethnic category of various family members based on their perception of the family when they visited. So if you are attempting to find and interpret data about your family's history, these results can be confusing, especially if one census they are deemed as all other free, or slaves, or free persons of color, or mulatto, and even black. In most early census years, there were no categories for Indian at all, while in others, free people of color were recorded all in one group. More about this in my documentary called The Untold Truth About the Classifications of Race, but I said all of that to say this. Where your family fell into a race classification category was solely up to the individual census taker of that particular area, not your family members. The term Negro and colored stuck around throughout the years of forced colonization, and especially when copper-colored indentured servants were cultivating the industrial design and capitalist societies of America between the late 1400s and the early 1900s. Now, since the distribution of slaves made the wealthiest profit more than selling any resources during the 15th and 16th centuries, slavery became the biggest business across the world, where they were called Negroes or coloreds by the English and the Spanish for decades until around the late 1950s and early 60s. The term black gradually made its mark within the copper-colored communities once they were granted privileges to vote during an election and promised civil rights commencing during the 1960s, enforcing the propagandic agenda deriving from the Freemasonry logic formatted belief system of eugenics that blacks came from Africa. One of the darkest secrets and biggest mistakes ever made in American history was engendered by a copper-colored man by influencing fellow copper-colored men and women to deem themselves as African American. The illusory term derived from a narcissistic reverend turned presidential candidate in the year of 1988. While campaigning for the advancement of his political position, Reverend Jesse Jackson held a formal news conference to urge all Americans to utilize the term African Americans when referring to copper-colored citizens of America. In an interview about the term African American, Jackson stated, quote, "It puts us in our proper historical context. Every ethnic group in this country has a reference to some land base, some historical culture base. African Americans have hit that level of cultural maturity." Here's the problem with that. The term African American is not a legal form of racial classification. As a matter of fact, neither is black. Both terms were promoted as if it would make the American colored people feel equal to those that are classified as white by the census. The so-called blacks or the so-called African Americans are the only ones that actually believes that the 13th or 14th Amendments were established into the Constitution in their favor. But yet, neither amendment clearly mentions anything about blacks or African Americans being granted citizenship to this country, nor full rights as an American citizen should have. I have shared full details concerning this information in my videos called The Untold Truth About the Term Black, Part 1 and Part 2. But I mention all of this as a warning to inform you that both terms, Black and African American, literally does not have any standing in law still to this very day. In fact, coloreds or Negroes are the only people who were not lawfully allowed to learn anything before.
Well, anyway, we're going to cut it because that's pretty long, but you can follow up on this. Dan Calloway Black Americans are not African. That's a factual, scientific, factual statement. And also, our indigenous race have been annihilated. They have put us in a non-existent position. They call us African Americans to throw us off. The truth about who we truly are has been hidden information, hidden history, and this show right here, you know what I'm saying, is making a presentation for you, for our people to know and come into realization of who we truly are, what truly belongs to us, and to know and understand that we was already here. Okay, so when that big police come at you, you know what I'm saying, trying to disrespect you, I always let them know. You know what I'm saying? This is my land. This is black people land. You disrespecting me by even, you know what I'm saying, confronting me when I ain't broke no law. But so that's what's up. And I hope, you know, that these presentations, you know, that we present, I hope that it's reaching our audience and that our audience take it up on themselves to recognize and realize the importance in knowing our true history, because we've been taught to learn the history of another man, all his information, his way of life, you know, and that's what's keeping us on the bottom of the totem pole, and we belong on the top. So let's, you know, come together as a race of people. Let's study, let's research the truth and the real, so we'll know what our struggle is all about, and we'll have more insight why we at this point in our lives.
Well, I want to thank you for presenting this information here. Matter of fact, this is brand new to me. In regards to the conversation dealing with reparations, I think the terminology is correct. It says American descendants of slaves. All right, because they made it simple. They made it simple for white people, right? If they black, all right, that's who you enslave, all right? So it didn't make no difference if he was a black Indian or a black African. The likelihood of you winding up in slavery was very, very high. You know, the only way you're gonna
just the color of your skin.
Yeah, it was just based on skin color, right? So it didn't make no difference if he was a black Indian or African, African. You know, they was trying to throw you into slavery. All right, so
it's not even black Indian. Black is a word that came from them, just like Negro and African American. I mean, well, you know, came from them. So that's just, you know, we are indigenous, you know what I'm saying, native Indians. That's who we are. We Aboriginal. That's who we are. So that word black is really, you know what I'm saying, what he said, that's a no what?
Well, anyway, all I'm saying is, like, when it comes to reparations, terminology is correct. American descendants of slaves, or American descendants of slavery. And that ends the debate, all right, because what we are suffering is it was like across the board. It was a global enterprise. You just think about it, man. Europeans went to Africa. That's international trade right there, right? All right. Then they got the slaves from Africa. All right. In this document, it also shows that Africans had came to America far before Columbus, and they classified the Indian as the red man. So
right, that was the first person that was called red man by the white man.
Yeah, so that's why it's important that we define our own history and produce our own programming so we can set the record straight. Because
but you gotta understand, man, our whole culture has been stolen from us. You know, that's why we need to know. We need to know this so we can, reobtain our culture, restore our culture. Because we live in his culture. So,
that's a point. That's a point, but right now, I'm not trying to be an expert on every single thing, right? I'm concentrating on American history.
On every single thing, but you can learn. You
can
learn so you can have information and knowledge on the things that's important for us to know, and for us to know who we truly are. Is so very important, because if you don't know who you are, you somebody else. As simple as that. And you accept somebody else every way of life and existence. And that's what's been happening to our people. We need to know who we truly are and what truly belongs to us. When they say we don't got no land, that's a doggone lie. We do have a land. America is our land. And black people need to start recognizing that and representing that, you know what I'm saying, and carrying ourselves like this belongs to us.
Well, anyway, land is part of the solution. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this show. It's been long. This has been a long show. We got a lot of information here. We covered everything from reparations to American Indians, Black Indians, and we went on down to South America dealing with some of them people down there too. So we covered quite a bit in this show. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to wrap up this show by saying that yes, knowledge is key, but also we need to know that the knowledge of self, that we are part of the solution. All right. And if we don't push reparations on through, the study, before I go, I just want to say something in regards to this study, because I'm trying to find the actual facts on this. They say this study, rumor has it, I'm going to get a verification on that sooner or later. But say, for example, they're going to study this thing for 7 years. All right. Now, if they're going to study HR 40 for 7 years, then Biden will be on his way out the door by the time this thing gets finished. And okay, during the next election, what if a Republican get elected, or anybody get elected that don't agree with this whole thing and they kick it all the way out? So that's why I'm saying it's in my presentation, I wanted to show that it's a legal issue, that it's a moral issue, and it is a political issue. And all of these fronts need to be activated. And that's why we need unity. Various organizations are specializing in certain things, but it's like we got to cover all these bases. So it's going to take unity and put our eye on the prize, because I'm telling you, we identified in this show that the prize is potentially $20.3 trillion. All right. So if you're talking about taking that money and creating the programs, no, I say don't create a whole lot of bureaucracy. Please don't, because every time you try to create a bureaucracy, then The taxpayers got to pay for that bureaucracy. And then a lot of that bureaucracy revenue that's generated is not getting down to the people. We didn't have programs and all that stuff. I'm saying cut the doggone check, send it right to us, just like Trump did and Biden did. Direct deposit, man. That, you know, all this other stuff that they want to try to initiate, man, look, that's probably one of the reasons why they want to study it for 7 years. All right, let me tell you what 7 years is. I already have a Bachelor of Science degree. I can go back to college if Biden enact that free college educational thing for 2-year university and 4-year university. You know, and I think they narrowed it down for 4-year university, 2 years. But anyway, in 7 years, I can go to school, start a brand new field of study like law, and within 7 years have a law degree. So I'm just trying to tell you how much can happen in 7 years. In 32 years, one person was born and then they had kids. We need to speed this reparation project on through, make a decision, and come to a conclusion. All right, so we can begin to build America, you know, because I'm telling you, some people want to build business. A lot of people don't want to buy a Ferrari or a big old mansion and stuff like that. You know, some people want to start a new Microsoft, a new Ford Motor Company. You know, so
build a hospital for the indigenous people, or build educational institutions and markets. Yeah. White man cut the check.
Yeah, and do it quick. You don't need to study it forever. You're wasting time and spending money. All right, now while you're doing all this studying and everything, I'm telling you what, all right, let me help you with the study. You cut a check to this behind the scenes with the OGs so we can study. We will study it. We'll find out the facts. We will tell you the facts. We'll put it on public TV so people can watch it for free. If we pick up any network along the way to help broadcast the information, we'll do all that. But first, cut a check to us so we can help you do the study, because all them other people who's well established that you planning on getting ready to do the study, they're gonna drag it out forever so they can milk it, and the money never gets to the people. So I'm saying, get the money to the people so we can get going in America, because we want to build our own industry. I am one, and I'm sure some more people out there that want to build their own industry too. Because we need to be able to employ our own. We don't need to be always walking around here saying, give me a job, somebody create a job, somebody start a business. No, self-responsibility means that we can do it. You got the education, you got the skills, and all we need is the money to do it, and these loans and stuff like that. And that's not good enough. Give us what's due to us.
The money so we can build from.
Right, money and Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, money and Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we will never break our stride. You know, you owe us. You're in our debt. You know what I'm saying? Get us our money, and hey, that's what's up. So you know what I'm saying? Thank you. You know what I'm saying, for joining in, giving us your time. Hopefully you appreciate us, you know what I'm saying, the black media that we're using to express this information to our people. You know, our history, we want you to recognize and realize that we already studied reparation. We have already took our time out to study reparation, and now all we need is to collaborate, and for others who's on that same page to get on board. You know what I'm saying? Count us in, get on board with us, you know what I'm saying? And let's, you know, do what we got to do to get what is due to us.
Yeah,
And with that, that's what I'm saying. If we come to the end of our show right now, we have spent a lot of time because this was such an important subject, that we wanted to get out to our people. So thank you. Good night. Like, subscribe, and we love you.
Well, I want to end it by saying we need unity. You can be you, and I can be me. I got a theme song on that bad boy. You be you, and I be me. I'm telling you, you be you. All right? Don't drive drunk. And if you have a conflict in your life, figure out some kind of way to handle it without violence. And I want to say good night. Thank you very much for watching. And I want to apologize to one of my loyal viewers, Kim, that I wasn't able to get to the Flint, Michigan water crisis. I'm still studying that, but it's in the logbook. I'm logging it in. As soon as I develop the right approach for that program, I will highlight the information that I find, because I got to dig up a lot of facts in order for me to proceed in such a way where that I'm comfortable with. All right, so I got to do a lot of homework. So we got to do our studying, and I want to say good night. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe so you will be the first to know, because let me tell you, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am who I need to be, and I am the one that can help change things. And we are here to help bring forth that information. So we together is unity.